Global Vegetarian Kitchen. Today I'm really excited about teaching you how to make aloo gobi. Aloo gobi is a traditional Indian dish, but we're going to not make it so traditional by adding some color and additional protein to it. Actually, I'm dedicating this dish to an Instagram friend of mine, Tina. She has a 16-month-old son, and this little guy is already eating the colors of the rainbow. And kudos to you, Tina, for giving him such a head start on a healthy lifestyle. And I also want to comment on Instagram. It's such a wonderful community. I have so many wonderful followers and friends, and I'm really, really blessed to be inspired by so many of them. I inspire others, but in turn, I get inspired by so many as well. So going back to the dish that we're going to be learning to cook today, the ingredients are laid out. We have the masala ingredients or the tadka ingredients, which is the onion, ginger, garlic. And today I'm actually going to use something unique, which you may or may not have used before. It's fresh turmeric. It looks like ginger, but when you peel it and cut it up, it's very orange inside. It's not something that you typically find, so I thought it'd be kind of neat to use it today. And of course, if you don't have fresh turmeric, it's not a requirement. You can use the ground turmeric, which is what I typically use. We have some cut up tomato, cashews, cilantro, potatoes. Aloo means potato, gobi is cauliflower. So potatoes and cauliflower, of course, have to be part of this dish. But we're going to add some colorful peppers. 3 colored peppers, green, yellow, and red is what I'm using today. And then we have some cilantro, which is often used in Indian cooking as a garnish or just added prior to a dish being completed. So if you're ready to cook, let's get going. So I have my stove on medium heat, and I'm going to throw about a teaspoon of cumin seed, just to toast it slightly. And what this will do is it'll enhance the flavor of the cumin and really bring out a nutty flavor in this wonderful spice. You don't need to do it very long, just maybe a minute before we add the oil. And you can actually start smelling it once it starts toasting, but we don't want to burn it either. So after that's toasted, we add the olive oil. Now traditionally, Indian cooking is done with clarified butter, or ghee as we call it, but I don't like to use that very often. I tend to use good quality cold pressed extra virgin olive oil because it's a healthier fat. So a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. Then to sizzle our cumin seeds in it for another minute, and you can hear them beginning to make some noise. And I can smell it. It smells beautiful. Now I'm going to add the ginger and garlic, but not the fresh turmeric right away because I don't want it to give off its color initially into the onion mixture. Garlic will tend to saute really quickly, so we don't need to leave this before we add the onion. We don't need to cook it that long, just a minute or so, and then allow the rest of it to cook with the onion. Okay, So in goes the onion. And that's about one onion, one medium-sized onion, 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, and a thumb-sized piece of ginger. And we'll need to cook this for 5-6 minutes just to get it nicely cooked, golden brown, but not completely caramelized, because we're not making a rich curry gravy dish. We're making a vegetable dish, so we don't need to completely caramelize our masala. So I'm going to cover this and let it cook for a couple of minutes before coming back to stir it again. So this has been cooking for about 5 minutes now. As you can see, it's getting a nice golden color. And I'm going to throw in the fresh chopped turmeric now. Mix it in. Leave it for 30 seconds to a minute, just for it to absorb some heat before I add the tomato. We don't want to burn it, so I'm going to add the tomato. As you can see, the turmeric is beginning to add a little bit of yellow color in here already. And since I haven't used fresh turmeric in this dish before, I may have to add some ground turmeric once I see how much color it's giving off. I'm going to add the tomato. And this will need to be covered and cooked for another 2-3 minutes to allow the tomato to soften and blend in with the rest of the mixture. Okay, looks like the tomato is beginning to soften up. And I'm finding it's a little bit dry. I'm going to add a touch more olive oil. And we're ready to add the potatoes. We need to add the potatoes before we add the rest of the vegetables, because of all the vegetables we're using in this dish today, they will take the longest to cook. And I'm going to mix everything up, cover it, and then walk away for 3-4 minutes to allow the potatoes to get a head start. Okay. We'll let the potatoes make friends with the masala for a few minutes. Okay, our potatoes are cooking nicely, and I notice it's beginning to stick a little bit, so I'm just going to add a tad of water, and that's perfectly fine because it'll get absorbed by the potatoes. The potatoes have been cooking for about 4 minutes in the masala. And I think we're ready to add the cauliflower and peppers. Look at these beautiful colors. And we just want to mix everything up really nicely so the vegetables get coated with the masala. And then I'll add the spices. And then just cover it, allow it to cook. It'll take about 20 minutes of cooking, but I have to come back and stir it a few times. I can't just walk away completely. And it looks like I don't have enough turmeric in here, so I will add some ground turmeric when we add all the spices. We need to cover it and allow the steam to soften up the vegetables. So the cauliflower is cooking nicely, and I'd like to talk about the spices we're going to be using today. Here we have coriander, whole coriander, and what I've done is taken about a teaspoon or so of it, and I've just ground it up. And when you do this, it releases such an amazing fragrance, and that's really going to enhance the flavor of our cauliflower aloo gobi dish. We're going to use some cayenne, a little bit more turmeric because we didn't use enough of the fresh turmeric, and some salt. So there's not a whole lot of spices that you have to have available to make this dish. We used the whole cumin seed originally. And talking about Indian spices, I wanted to make a mention of our free ebook, which goes into quite a bit of detail about the nutritional and culinary uses of various spices. And I'm sure you're going to find that very, very useful. So while the cauliflower has been cooking for the last few minutes and just getting nicely steamed before we add the spices, here we are, cooking very nicely. So add a touch more of ground turmeric. A little bit of cayenne, and of course this is entirely optional. And you also have to be careful of using cayenne. Some ground cayenne is hotter than other ground cayenne, so just test it first and figure out how much heat you want in your dish. It's entirely up to you. Indian food doesn't have to be excessively spicy. And salt. Better to add less initially and then add more if necessary instead of the other way around. And our beautifully ground coriander seed. And now all I'm going to do is just stir the spices in really, really well. There's some juices beginning to come out of the vegetables. And this is a dry vegetable dish, so we're not going to be adding any liquid to it. but we also don't want it to be overly dry. That's why it's important to keep it covered when you're not stirring it. And also not to overstir cauliflower because it cooks relatively quickly. And if you keep stirring and overstirring it, the florets will start to mash. And you don't want that. Lovely color. See how nicely the colors are coating the vegetables? It's looking really good. I need to cover it, and it should be ready in less than 15 minutes. But it's important to cover it and stir it a couple times in between. Our cauliflower is basically ready. I'm going to add the cashews now and the cilantro. And cilantro we normally add at the end so that it doesn't lose its fragrance because it'll wilt really quickly. And I don't want to stir it too much now, as I said earlier, because it's fully cooked. As you can see, the florets are quite soft now. And it's ready to be served. And this is the fun part. We get to taste what we just made. It looks as it's supposed to. The cauliflower, the potatoes, everything is nicely cooked. But I would have preferred perhaps cooking the cauliflower a little less. But it still tastes wonderful. And that's something that can be adjusted. The texture of the nutty texture of the cashews is really lovely in here. And I can smell and really taste the fresh ground coriander seeds that we added in here as a spice. So Tina, this is to you and your beautiful little boy. I hope you enjoy making cauliflower at home. Aloo Gobi. So now that we've had this cooking lesson together and you've learned how to make aloo gobi, why not try it at home? It's not complicated, it's not difficult, doesn't require a whole lot of ingredients, and it's such a healthy option for a vegetarian vegan lifestyle. And if you like to learn to cook more dishes like this, leave us your name and your email, and we will let you know when other videos similar to this type of cooking are available for you to watch. And you'll receive our free ebook, which is a wonderful guide to Indian spices and has additional nutritious, healthy recipes that are all vegetarian and vegan. And we'd love to receive your feedback. Let us know what you want to learn how to make, and we'd love to be able to help you learn to cook and make wonderful, healthy, nutritious Indian cuisine. Thank you so much.